Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Back with some more Mustang content. So as you can see, we got it all torn apart. We're doing some work. Right now I have my friend David mounting and balancing my new tires. This is my old spare, but I got the boxes over there for my tires. So they're 315/30/19. Same tire, Continental Extreme Force Contact. Or Extreme Contact Force, I'm sorry. ECF, and it's a 200 tread wear tire. Anyways, so I'm doing some stuff because those tires are ginormous. They are much bigger than the 295s that were on the car, and so to fit them I'm having to do some stuff. So I need to add camber. So the first thing I had to do, and obviously these are unbolted still, but I had to move everything out of the way so I could grind out this section of the strut tower to get the rest of the camber available out of the adjustable camber plate, Maxim Motorsport plates. So basically, if you leave the stock size hole here, you can't get the full amount of camber from the plate, so you have to open it up. So most guys just get a hole saw and just cut this whole thing out. You can do that. It's probably the easier way than I did it. I just don't have one, and I didn't feel like removing the entire strut to do it. So I just used a carbide bit and I basically just elongated the hole. So I'll touch it up with some paint just so it doesn't rust or anything, but that'll allow me to move the strut all the way in as far as I can get it, get the most camber out of it. I think before I had about 2.5 degrees. I'm hoping that gets me about 3 degrees total. So I've been doing that. I've been doing some other stuff. I've had these forever. These are Shelby adjustable sway bar end links that I got from my friend Ashley, of course, my S197 drug dealer, my favorite drug dealer. And he's also the same guy I got the Roush coilovers from, and a bunch of other stuff. But anyways, he gave these to me forever ago along with those hood pins, and they've been sitting in my garage for 8 months now, and just not getting around to putting them on. There's not a huge advantage to going to an aftermarket end link on these cars. The factory one is pretty beefy. It's not adjustable, but it is, you know, it's pretty strong, and it's got like a Heim joint type thing on it. These are obviously stronger and they're adjustable. The only reason that you need an adjustable end link is so that when the car is sitting on the ground, and technically I should be in the car when this is done, but basically you want there to be no preload on the bar when the car is static on the ground. So that means that the bar doesn't have a slight twist in it, because, you know, chassis aren't perfect. So you could have an end link that's the exact same length on both sides, and there could potentially be a small amount of preload on it, and that'll change the way the car handles. So to get rid of that, you use an adjustable one. I haven't snugged everything down yet. They're still loose, as you can see, because once I put it on the ground, I'll have to reach up in there and do my best to adjust these. So anyways, I got those in. I got the blue paint stripped off my calipers. These are the rotors that were on the car. Now these have, I don't know, I had these machined. I had them resurfaced a while ago, and I think these have 3 track days since they got resurfaced. These are a really cheap rotor. They're not a high-end rotor, so they're very soft, as you can see. Huge lip on these things. I mean, look how much metal has been worn away. It's just crazy. I've never had a disc that has worn off that much. So anyways, I got some, they're actually used, but slightly, geodisc rotors from my friend David. He had those on his car, and I believe he went to a 2-piece, and so they might have had a couple track days on them, but they're in really good shape. But I'm having my same friend David, DJ, surface those just to start fresh. And then another mod I'm doing, which hasn't shown up yet, it's supposed to be here today, is I'm converting to the GT500 rear disc. It's a kit that LMR sells, so it's a relocation bracket for the caliper, and then they give you the larger disc. Now I don't know how big these are. I want to say these discs are only like 10 inches or something crazy like that. They're not very big. Let's see. It looks to be okay. They're not that They're about 11 and a half is what it looks like roughly. But the GT500 disc, I want to say it was 13.8, so it's about a 2-inch larger disc. So it's a good bit bigger disc, and there's a couple of reasons to do that. One is mechanical advantage, so much like changing a gear and a transmission, you know, making the disc bigger, bringing the contact surface of the brake out farther allows for more mechanical advantage on the brake. So it's essentially like using second gear instead of third gear to accelerate, just backwards. So think of it that way. And also it's more mass, it's a heavier, larger disc, so it can dissipate heat better, and it also looks a lot better. And these are actually pretty worn out too. These were I want to say they were Power Stop or something like that. Anyways, they're a dimpled and lightly slotted rotor, but as you can see with the reflection on here, there's a pretty good lip on these ones too. Not as bad as the front ones, but and they're pretty wavy, so they're not very smooth. They're pretty hammered. They've been on there. I've been tracking on these the entire time that I've had this car. So, you know, the rear brakes don't do as much as the fronts, but you know, these have 13, 14 track days on them, plus, you know, canyon driving and all the rest of that stuff. So anyways, figured might as well change them out now and go with the bigger disc while I'm at it. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to swap out the 300-pound springs in the rear. When I got these coilovers from Ashley, the setup they come with, the Roush setup, I want to say is 515 pound in the front, and then they're 400 pounds in the back, 400-pound springs. So these red ones are 300-pound springs. I got those from Ashley as well. The reason we swapped them out, I went to the track the first time on the coilovers on these springs, the ones that the setup comes with, and the car was just, it was really loose. The back end just wanted to come out. I felt like I was having to drive just super careful, and it just was not confidence inspiring because the back end just felt like it wanted to come around super easy, which, you know, in some cases is a good thing, in other cases is not. So we swapped to a 300 spring, softened up the rear end a little bit, and it just got a lot better. Now, one of the reasons the Roush setup comes with such a stiff rear spring is that the Roush cars that these were meant for, so it's the 427R package, which is a supercharged 4.6, bunch of suspension parts, sticky rubber, and they had a wing on it. When you have a wing that creates downforce, more pressure on the back suspension, basically you need a stiffer spring to account for the added downforce or weight. So without that big wing in the back of the car, but with these bigger springs, is one of the reasons why the car was pretty loose. The other reason is the tires that I was driving at the time were Nitto Invos, which aren't really a track tire. They were 305s, are big, but, and they're also old. They were like 3 or 4 years old, so the rubber in them was just had gone bad, basically. So what it amounts to, they were hard, and the car was just kind of just a handful to begin with, those tires. So I'm running a much different tire now. So I haven't had these. I only had these on for one session, like 2 years ago, basically, and then that was with those old tires. So we're gonna put these springs back on. One of the cool things about these springs is they're shorter than the ones that are in there, and the nosedive under braking is like way better with these shorter springs. So I got that because now I got the wing in the car, so I can get away with using these stiffer rear springs. And so yeah, I'm going to put those in, the bigger rear brakes, the bigger tires. Then I have to redo the front end alignment because I'm just messing with everything now. I'm throwing more camber at it. Probably different spacers to get the tires to clear the struts, and I'll show you guys that once I get my tires back. But yeah, so just finishing up the Shelby adjustable end links here on the passenger side. And you can see I got an iBox sway bar that I also got from Ashley for free $99. Again, my favorite drug dealer. And it's adjustable, as you can see. The farther forward you go, the stiffer it becomes, basically. So again, it's a question of geometry and leverage and all that. So the more you move it out here, the more leverage you have to the part of the bar that flexes, and so it makes it softer essentially. So you go in here and it makes it stiffer. So I had it on the stiffest setting, which is where I'll put it back to, and that'll keep the back end a little bit tighter as well. So anyways, that's what we're doing. I did buy some gold paint. I thought about painting these gold, but there really isn't any other gold in the car. I think it would look cool. I like colors that pop. You know, I've done some kind of crazy colors on my brakes in the past, but now that we got the silver roll bar in there and some other silver accents, I figured, well, I'll just leave them natural metal for now, and I can always paint them later. So anyways, it's like 40 degrees out here. The paint would take forever to dry. So I'm just waiting for the tires to get back. Got to do these end links. I need to adjust my brake ducts a little bit. They're kind of wonky, so I need to get those pointed in the right direction. Then once I get the tires back, see what spacer I need to use to get these tires to clear the struts, because basically what's happening is right about here is where the tire is on the when I have the wheel on, and right here is pretty snug. On my other tires I only had maybe 2 or 3 millimeters worth of room, which is enough, but these bigger tires have they're much larger, but where they're larger isn't so much right next to the strut, it's more up in this area in the corner of the tire. The sidewalls aren't going to change too much, so I'm really hoping I can still use the 19 millimeter spacer, because the other issue is I'm going to have clearance issues right through here under deflection. So as the suspension compresses, especially when the tire is turned, this is the other issue. So that's one of the reasons I'm adding more camber, and also I think the car needed more camber just based on how far the tires were rolling over previously in the last track day. So a little extra camber wouldn't hurt to begin with, but it's also going to push the tire farther in, get it away from this lip. So there's going to be a number of things happening here to get all this to work, but hopefully the added traction with the bigger tires will allow better braking, better cornering, better acceleration coming out of corners. They are a little bit taller as well. Both tires were 30 series, so a 295/30 and then a 315/30, but the 315s are about a ½ inch taller total, so they're about a 1/4 inch taller on the top and a 1/4 inch on the bottom, obviously. So the radius has changed a 1/4 of an inch, and it's closer to the fender, so I might end up having to lift the front end of the car up just a hair too, but I'd rather not, but we'll see what happens there. But anyways, once I get the tires back, we'll continue on with the video and see what it takes to get those big old things to fit. Alright guys, so I got the tires back. I got this one temporarily installed. You can see the 315 compared to the 305, and the 315 is definitely, it's about a 1/4 inch wider on each side, which is what it should be, so that's good to see. I am still on the 19 millimeter spacer, and I believe I have about almost 2 millimeters of space between the strut and basically this section of the tire. On the other side is the closest part of it, so this doesn't really come that close. It's really just right in here where the curb protector is, and like I said, I got about 2 millimeters of space, which is about like that much, which isn't a whole lot, but it's not much less than I had before, honestly. And I have enough room in between the adjuster and the corner of the tire, although it's getting close. But I might run the 20s just to buy myself a little more room, although I think I want to lower it on the ground first and see just how much fender clearance I have first, because that's the other part of the equation that I had to worry about, is the fender clearance as well. So you see the new disc in there, freshly machined. I'm going to paint the centers so they don't rust. Got to final install the brake, and then I'll get this thing on the ground once I get both sides dialed in. So anyways, the rear brakes aren't going to show up today, which is a bummer, so I'm going to have to do those tomorrow, but we'll get these other tires in the back, and yeah, we'll set this puppy on the ground. Alright guys, so I've set the car down for the first time. I'm looking better up front than I originally thought I would be. So from certain angles it looks like it's really close, and it is close, but there's more room than I was imagining, and it's hard to pick up on camera. It looks like it's just gonna freaking hit, but in person, honestly, with the added camber, it doesn't look like it's that much less room than it was before. So, I mean, it's definitely close. It's not poking nearly as much as I thought it would. So, out back, she's thick. But the back's a little high still, maybe just a hair. I might drop the back down like a couple more millimeters. Or I might just leave it. It's not bad. You do want the back a little bit higher on these cars. Just not a ton. That was just a quick guess when I set the springs up. Just kind of set them and see where it was going to sit. That's not terrible. Might just leave it for now. Because once I sit in the car, the back will be a little bit lower. And it's pretty low on fuel too, so yeah, I might just leave the back where it's at. Maybe lower just a hair. Just a little bit. But you can see here, I got the camber plates all bolted down. Haven't touched up the red paint yet. But as you can see, I got them puppies maxed out. I got my Steeda strut bar back in. Not that those do anything, but it's been sitting in the corner. I've had it off for a while. Figured might as well put it back on. So yeah, I just need to adjust the sway bar end links, tighten those up, check the toe, and go take it for a quick drive. It is 40 something degrees today, so there will be no attempts at any cornering. When I was out taking pictures last week, it was about this cold and just about tossed the car into a guardrail messing around in second gear. So anyways, let's not do that. So yeah, let me get these things adjusted. We'll roll it outside and should be looking sweet. Look at that meat. Good grief. Alright guys, this thing is insane. Bad lighting today. Too cloudy, but yeah. Super pumped on that. I think the ride height on the right side is pretty much perfect. Driver's side is just a little too high on this rear, but not too far off. So I'll probably just lower that side just ever so slightly at some point, but that's about a wrap for this video, guys. We'll see you in the next one.